Welcome in. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all in the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, drop me a comment. Click that bell icon for all notifications to know when to go live each and every single weekday and sometimes on a Sunday. God, it feels good to give that introduction and be back with you guys. Wanted to thank every single person who showed up for my return to YouTube, which occurred on Thursday. Man, this weekend flew by, which occurred on Thursday. If you haven't checked out the video, I'm going to pull it up for you real quick. Make sure you check this out. Let me pull this up and show you guys. If you haven't checked this video out, Overcoming Adversity and Surviving Cancer, it's a really good video in my opinion. There were a couple tidbits of information that I did forget to hit on in that video, but for the most part I hit on all the educational pieces that I wanted to, and I was so happy to see so many people turn out for that. So make sure to check that out. But today we're doing TA. Today is all about TA. We're not talking about anything along the lines of what we spoke to on Thursday. The lighting on today's, watching myself on the video, the lighting on today's live stream is quite bright. Yeah, just really happy to be back. And in putting thought into what makes the most sense in terms of how to approach today's live stream, given that I haven't been with you guys in so long, I thought that we could kind of recap a lot of the price action that has taken place and speak to where we are currently at today. And we're going to review a couple different high time frame charts. Please keep in mind, I'm going to be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So obviously there's going to be a lot of charts we're not going to get to today that we can get to later in the week. But I kind of put up the charts that I personally wanted to speak to that I think made the most sense. I hope everyone is having why thank you, Muhahid. I've seen you in the live stream before. Why thank you for the positive compliment. If you guys are following me on Twitter, although I've been sort of out of commission the past couple months, I've been trying to keep you as updated as I could through Twitter, posting various charts. There's also, you will find from time to time, I will retweet, like, and engage with other value-added technicians in this space. I would encourage everyone, as much as I get a lot of positive feedback and I'm very appreciative of it, I definitely want you to come to this channel. I definitely want you to come to my Twitter content at Crypto Bull God and find value in the content that I'm putting out there. But there are other value-added technicians that I sort of try to point you guys towards in terms of trying to make your own independent assessment of what's going on, right? So during this time away from YouTube, I think I've had a decent amount of time to think about a lot of different things that's just related to the channel and related to where we're at in the cycle. Admittedly, with everything going on in my life, I haven't had as much time in many respects to pay attention to the charts, but in some respects, it's also allowed me to take a step back and look at some of these charts with a fresh set of eyes. And I think the latter is where I'm coming at it from in today's live stream. That's one of the benefits that, even though I've stayed engaged on what's going on and I've had an opportunity to reassess my channel and aspirations I have for my channel and my views on the market, I also in many ways haven't been as close to things. I haven't been out here every day, spending time charting with you guys and charting as much as I typically do. So that's also allowed me, in a sense, because I've stepped away, to gain a fresh set of eyes. Thumbs up, appreciate the engagement. Helps to spread the content if you guys don't mind. Now, what I want to do is I want to start off with a 12-hour chart and kind of talk about the price action on a smaller time, on a lower time frame before we get into the higher time frames about what is going on. Now, the 12-hour chart, if you guys haven't been here in the past, I have a couple different videos out there. You can search my content in terms of why I speak to a 12-hour chart, okay? Even with Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is the longest standing cryptocurrency project, there's not a ton of price data, especially when you consider it in the context of how long a lot of assets have been out there that we chart, right? If you want to a stock chart of Apple, or you want to a chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that can really give you a perspective in terms of how early even Bitcoin is in terms of having price data available to chart. And so one of the creative views that I came up with was a 12-hour chart, taking a day, cutting it in half, talking about the historical significance there. Now, here's the main thing I would like to hit on with the 12-hour chart. If price action is to pan out the way that I'm anticipating it to pan out for this year, and you know my primary hypothesis is we're going to top earlier than most people think. And I want to come back to that point. But if I'm correct in that assertion, then what history tells us is that price should not gravitate much from this 200 simple moving average, which is the pink line. So if we do come down to around this price level, and there's actually price confluence, we can draw it out real quick, right around here. You can see red is for resistance, green is for support. So we're going to draw green for support. There's an area of price confluence. This says 37,953. We're going to round up because we don't get too cute on this channel. We recognize something called volatility. So we're going to call that 38,000. All right. So between this 200 simple moving average and this area of price confluence at 38,000, I would be surprised that even if we do get a dip below $40,000, which I'm not anticipating, that's my primary view, I don't see us going below 38,000 to 39,000. I don't see us deviating. I mean, I certainly think it's very possible. We could come down and do something like this, okay, and then just continue up. I think it's very possible that the next 4 to 5 weeks could be somewhat stagnant, sideways, boring until we start to get into March. But history has also taught me that once things start to go parabolic, the parabolic price action that you will see in Bitcoin and we will see in the crypto markets, the greatest amounts of price appreciation, they occur within the shortest amounts of time. Okay, I still remember the point in time when Bitcoin had broken $20,000 all the way back here. We'll jump to this chart eventually. All the way back here, where were we at in December? Let's see. Yeah, right around here, December, January. Everyone was expecting once we broke 20,000, we were going to come down and retest, and we never did. We just continued up in this parabolic price action. And as you know, if you've been here for a while, this top at 64, this was your parabolic trajectory in price. This price action here, even though it resulted in a higher high than here, this was part of a corrective structure. Okay, that's been my view, and nothing has changed about that. This was impulsive. This was not impulsive. Okay, if you look at the price indicators and the price data, this price action here was corrective in nature and not impulsive in nature. Okay, but the point is, when we get to the part of the cycle where people are expecting stagnating prices, people are expecting deeper corrections. Typically, when you're nearing the end towards a parabola, that never happens. Case in point, when we were back in, actually, if we flip to the weekly real quick, when we were in this price action, right in here, okay? If you go back to my tweets, in July and August and September, okay, I responded to a lot of people, several people, I should say, on Twitter who were basically saying, okay, this was the popular narrative, that price action was essentially going to be very boring going into 2024, and then some magical unicorns and leprechauns would raise price right at the halving date, because what these people apparently believe in is ignoring technical analysis and believing in a 4-year yellow brick road, okay, that the halving date guides the price, which I do not believe is the case. We can continue to have conversations about this. The halving date is a fundamental principle with Bitcoin, and one of the reasons I love the asset, and one of the reasons it will continue based on scarcity to appreciate in price. But the halving date is not the reason that price increases or decreases on a certain date. That's not what I believe. I've never believed that. So anyway, don't want to get on a tangent, but the point is that when people were expecting nothing but sideways action, you can see what happened was we had a sharp rise from around, we're just going to say the $25,000 to $27,000 level. We rose all the way up to $48,000, which is something, if you actually go back to my videos, I've been pretty spot on calling a lot of this stuff lately. I'm pretty quick to call out calls that I get wrong, which I'm going to continue to have down the road, as any good technical analyst does. But I'll also be quick to point out the good macro calls that I have as well. And this was one really good call, which is I was not expecting to go sideways below $30,000, or below 32.2, I think the level was, going into the halving. That was not my primary view. And you can see we eclipsed that. Now, this is not throwing shade on Tony at Thinking Crypto. I've been a subscriber of his channel for a long time. I think he puts out good content. What you have to understand is Tony, let me pause my VPN just to make sure we don't run into it, okay? And the point in me retweeting this, oof, let's fucking go. The point in me retweeting this is I want to show you something that he tweeted recently. Whatever happened to Data Dash? I have no idea. I've pointed that out on this channel before. I don't know whatever happened to that guy, but clearly something negative has to have happened in his life why he just went so pessimistic. But anyway, he's been wrong and wrong and wrong again. Let me show you something that turned 42 years old and going strong. Thanks for the love on this. We'll retweet that. Why not? There was something I reposted. Getting there. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Shit. Let me find this. This is important because it hits on what we're talking about here. Did take a sizable position in sushi. Also took a swing trade play on LRC loop ring. Tweeted that out earlier today. A lot of replies. Glad you guys are staying with me. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find this momentarily. Okay, here we go. I know it's right around here. Okay, here we go. So as you can see in this comment here, now it's very important to point out because I don't want anyone to confuse what I'm saying here. Everything is a possibility, right? Bitcoin could go to 100,000 tomorrow, it could go to 0 tomorrow, okay? And it has an associated probability, all right? I'm a statistician, so at heart, I recognize this as a fact, all right? But when you get people who don't do technical analysis tweeting on price targets in this fashion, it's most likely a sign the opposite will happen. So if we go to, I said, Tony, I enjoy your content. I'm not trolling him. I'm being honest. I enjoy your content, but you don't do TA. When people who don't do TA make calls like this, generally the opposite happens. He tweeted on January 18th, Bitcoin is going down to 35K. Could possibly go to 30K, setting up buy orders. Now look, Could Bitcoin go down to 35 or 30K? Absolutely, it's a possibility. Do I think that's going to happen? No. At least until after the blow off top. Because there's really two scenarios that I tweeted out to you guys today. I think that you are kidding yourself if you think that Bitcoin is never going to be in the $30,000 range again. Although, as we start to approach $100,000 and we're getting a lot of euphoria, you're going to see a lot of the same things this time around that I know I've seen in the past. There's never going to be a major correction in Bitcoin. Warning sign. Bitcoin will never see the $30,000 range. Warning sign. We will see the low to mid $30,000 range. I think nothing in life is a certainty besides living and dying. I think that's pretty close to a certainty, though. Strong possibility. So the only question you have to ask yourself is, will Bitcoin hit that low to mid $30,000 range 2 times or 1 time? I am in the camp of 1 time. 1 time. And that 1 time will be after the blow off top. After the blow off top, we're going to see another monumental correction within the market. Okay, I don't think we're going to see the low to mid $30,000 range. Could we wick below $40,000 and hit this 39 to 38 range that I just spoke to? Yeah, I think there's a stronger possibility for that. I also think that we will never go below this price wick here, though. We wick down to 40,200. Okay, until after we have our blow off top. We'll have to wait and see. But there are some warning signs. There are some warning signs that in the short to intermediate, we could see some downside potential in the price. We can't ignore that, okay? There have been negative divergences playing out in these charts. And what am I speaking to? Now, a negative divergence, what I mean by this is a recap. If the price is going up in value, but the relative strength index is going down in value, that's a negative divergence. In layman's terms, what it means is even though the price is increasing in value, there's less and less and less strength behind it. And as such, there is an increased likelihood that we could see a deeper correction. But there is no certainty. This is a warning flag that we need to account for. Now, when you see a negative divergence show up in a chart, there's a couple other things you need to account for. The first thing is you need to account for what time frame are you looking at. The higher the time frame, the negative divergence that exists on such time frame, the higher, the more credibility there is behind it. Example, if there's negative divergences showing up on a 4-hour chart, that is not as statistically significant in terms of seeing some significant downside in action in price versus seeing it's not as credible as seeing it on the weekly chart. If you see it on a higher time frame on a weekly chart, okay, now it looks like over these next handful of weeks here, we could see a deeper correction, right? And so the question we have to ask ourselves is, what time frame are we seeing the negative divergences on? And the second thing we should ask ourselves is, outside of the negative divergences, are there any other bearish signals printing? Okay, those are the things we should consider if we're expecting some downside price action. Thumbs up if you appreciate the educational content. So let's assess price action here. Now, this chart is getting a little messy because this is my rough expectation of what I anticipate seeing. Nothing has changed in this chart. As we're taking a look at this together, we can see here that price. Now, I had put in this price pattern back here in September, okay? And let me be very clear about this. You see what I have drawn out here, Bitcoin topping in June somewhere around 125,000, 130,000. I fully expect, I do not anticipate being, if I'm being correct, if I'm being 100% transparent with you, which I always am, I don't anticipate this panning out. I don't. Whether we top in May, whether we top in July or September, I would be shocked if the relative timing of this plans out. There's just so much volatility in crypto. But what I'm attempting to illustrate, so I'm saying there's going to be a deviation at some point. I can't see this playing out exactly the way I have it panned out here. I would be shocked if that happens. You can call me the wizard. I should go on a lot of different channels at that point and falsely proclaim I am Nostradamus, okay? The point is, I am not arrogant, and I've gotten my ass handed to myself plenty of times in this market to know I have a primary hypothesis, and I'm very much anticipating that there's going to be a deviation to some degree with my primary hypothesis. In this case, what I'm saying is we top in June. Maybe we top in May, maybe we top in August or September. I expect a deviation though. But you can see this is my general expectation for price action, and so far it is following it. But let's sort of get some of this stuff out of the way, and I don't want to mess this chart up. Yeah, I don't want to mess that chart up. Okay. Okay, let's go to a different chart here because I don't want to mess that up. So what I do want to do with you guys is I do want to assess current price action. Now, this is on a weekly chart. The first thing that we should take notice of, since I've been since I last live streamed, since I wanted to recap what has happened, I really went off the airwaves at the very beginning of November, right? My surgery was on November 6th. I think my last live stream was on November 3rd, November 2nd, somewhere around there. Okay, so we were essentially just starting to print this candlestick. So we were opening somewhere around 35, right at resistance, and we shot all the way up to 48,000. Now, as you recall, what did I say to you guys? I said the highest price level that I saw Bitcoin going to in 2024 was $48,000. You can see the highest we went to was, it depends if you want to count this candlestick or that. We went up to about $45,000, I believe. So around $45,000. So pretty much dead on there. But the other important tidbit of information that I want to share with you is I did anticipate closing the year in this orange box, and we did that. That is a huge win, guys. Never forget, whatever immediate price action is taking place in the market, you always want to ask yourself one fundamental question to determine if you should be bullish or bearish. Does anybody here know, if you've watched this live stream enough times, what is the one thing that you should ask yourself if we are in a bearish trend or a bullish trend? And let me read the comments real quick. Thunder, we're going to get into TA questions later in the week. I'm just going to cover a few charts today. Appreciate the question. They'll come back tomorrow. I can help answer your question. I'm not checking. I'm not checking out a meme coin today. What's up, Track? Good to see you in here, brother. J. Kim, no, it has nothing to do with an exponential moving average or EMA. Anybody else? I'm going to quickly, for the sake of time, share my thought here. What's up, Evan? The basic building blocks of a bullish narrative are what? A low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. I don't care if we come all the way down here. A higher low, a higher high. If you continue to see higher highs and higher lows in the chart, you are in a bullish uptrend. Never, ever lose that perspective. If you would have played to the whim of news articles and the popular YouTube channels and their clickbait, maybe some Twitter spaces or X spaces, whatever the case is, you wouldn't believe we're at the price levels we're at. You would believe, you would have believed down here we were going significantly lower. There was a lot of press being given to people calling for 5,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin that on this channel we laughed at. We acknowledged that anything was a probability. 5 to 10 was a probability, though it was very, very slim. And I tried to illustrate that to you by saying, guys, there is a possibility Bitcoin could go to 5 to 10,000. There's also a probability we're going to go to 100,000 overnight, okay? The point of me saying that is the probability was very low, right? So if you're going to be unemotional about things and just pay attention to what the charts are saying, this is called All in the Charts, Daily TA live stream, then what we can feel convicted about is we are in a bullish uptrend. We can't get lost, and a bearish trend would be lower lows and lower highs, okay? We can't get lost as investors, as people who want to succeed in this market and do well for ourselves, perhaps create financial wealth for financial independence for themselves, like myself. My goal in this market is to create financial independence for myself. Perhaps our goal is to just invest a little bit and have a down payment for our car or our home. Whatever our financial goals are that are associated with investing in cryptocurrencies, if you get lost in the day-to-day, right? If this is your primary view and this is all you're focused on, you're not going to do well. I promise you, you won't do well. There are far, far fewer traders in this market who can successfully day trade and do short-term swing trade plays versus just DCAing and investing. And then it's just a matter of knowing when you should sell, begin to scale out of your investments when things become too frothy. But don't let people, I see a lot of things that are disingenuous on Twitter. Don't let people fool you and think that you can just go out and quit your job, okay, and start day trading the market. 97 to 99% of you will fucking lose everything if you do that. Okay, there's a handful of you that may succeed and do well at that, but it's far fewer than not. Right, the most successful thing you can do for this market, especially given the volatility, is to invest in it. Right. So the thing we need to ask ourselves is, do we have the higher highs and higher lows? Yes, that is intact. So I don't have any major concerns. If we started to come down here and we started to lose the 200 simple moving average, which is certainly a scenario, I don't see panning out, but it's certainly a scenario. We started to lose $30,000 and we started to do this. Yeah, that would be devastating. That would be a bearish trend, lower lows and lower highs. And then we should be very concerned. But for now, whether I'm incorrect and we come down to 35.5 or we don't, you got to keep in mind, even if I'm wrong and we do come down to 35.5, let's say Tony is correct and we come down to those levels. Well, give Tony a round of applause. He was correct and I was wrong. The point is, don't lose perspective that we're still creating the higher highs and higher lows, right? We're still creating the higher highs and higher lows. Now, as we assess price action on an unbiased view, we can see on the weekly chart, this prior weekly candlestick is very bearish, okay? We don't need to know the name of the candlestick. We can just look at it and decipher that it's very bearish. This has a medium-sized shape red body, which means that it opened and it closed lower than the price that it opened during the week. And we have a huge wick expressing buyer exhaustion. Very bearish candlestick. Is there anything else that's bearish on the weekly time frame? Why, yes, there is. Let's focus on the relative strength index. And I think I was just going to focus on this instead of looking at the MACD and I'll make a quick comment on the MACD and the stochastic RSI. But on the MACD, you can see the other thing that has been going on, and we can actually see this, I believe, on a daily chart as well as a 3-day chart. You can see that as price has continued to churn up, RSI has continued to churn down. That's that negative divergence I spoke to prior. That is a very bearish sign. It's something we have to be cognizant of. So let's take a look at in history at Bitcoin when we've had some negative divergences. You can see here we had a downtrend in the RSI and we eventually broke it. Here we had a monumental downtrend in the RSI. This was negative divergence, right? Price continued to go up, but the RSI was going down. A clear warning sign, okay, that I should have paid more attention to, all right? So here you can see some negative divergence. But it is not the be-all, end-all. You can see negative divergence here back in 2016 as price continued to churn up, got negated. Negative divergence here. Okay, you can see price actually churned up here. We had negative divergence, got negated. More negative divergence. You can see as price continued to escalate, but then it continued to result in its blow off top. So the point of me showing this to you is to say, hey, there are some warning signs that could spell further downside. I do see that. I'm not ignoring that. But it's not the be-all, end-all. I've also come out here and shown you many charts that are significantly bullish from a higher time frame perspective, which have not flipped bearish. And we'll get into some of those later in the week. But that's something to be mindful of. Also, the other thing that you want to be mindful of on the weekly chart is if we get a negative cross down on the MACD. Right now, it's positive. But you do want to keep an eye on that. Now, let's take a look at the 2-week chart. This is something I wanted to address with you guys. There is a gravestone doji printing on the 2-week chart. This is a major, for me personally, one, given the time frame, and two, given the candlestick formation, this is a major warning sign to me. This is a major warning sign that tells me, hey, CBG, you could be incorrect. You could be incorrect in your assertion that Bitcoin has a blow-off top by the first half of this year. Because if this were to pan out, this would signal lower lows and lower highs and some sort of a corrective nature, and it would be a bit until we could dig out of it, right? And maybe we don't top until the end of the year or early 2025. This is something that has me very on guard, okay? Now, there's something else that I'd like to take a look at with you guys. Of course, the other thing real quick I did want to look at before we get to the price indicators. You could argue this was a gravestone doji and you saw what happened. You could argue this was a gravestone doji and we went down minimal in value, okay? Kind of double bottomed here and then increased in value. You could argue this here was a gravestone doji. We went down, what, 1% or 2%, and then rocketed up in value. So in the immediate here, just looking at 3 other for instances where there were candlesticks that are very similar or are textbook gravestone dojis, again, this is to tell you that this candlestick printing is absolutely a warning sign, but there is no candlestick. There is no price indicator that can tell you with 100% certainty what's going to happen, right? I am still leaning towards $40,000 not being broken. And if it does, we're going to see a wick to 38 to 39. That is where I still lean. Now, something else I want to point out on the 2-week chart here, looking at price indicators. Can I get a thumbs up? Can I just for a moment, can I get a little bit of love in the comments and a thumbs up? It just hit me as I'm doing this. I really miss doing this. I really fucking miss coming out here and charting. And I hope you guys appreciate the content and the fact that I'm back. But I just want to acknowledge for a moment, it just it feels really good to be back out here. It feels really good to be talking about charts. I've missed this. I have missed the normalcy in my life so much. I don't know how much of that came through on Thursday, but I have just missed the normalcy in my life. Just being able to do the things that I love doing. I was at the gym earlier this morning and I was bench pressing, legit bench pressing for the first time since October, late October. And I can't tell you how good that felt. You know, my bench press was pretty bad, but I think I repped out I went up to 195 and I got it 8 reps. But still, I mean, just to be able to do that, it felt really good. And it just feels really good to get back to some normalcy here. I'm just having a moment where I'm thinking about that. This just feels really good. There were a couple things I wanted to point out on the 2-week chart as well as it pertains to the price indicators. Now, the first thing you got to watch for is the MACD. It is significant if we get a negative cross down on the MACD, so you want to watch for that. But when I was evaluating the RSI and the stochastic RSI, I didn't want to overcomplicate the chart. I wanted to talk about two main areas on the stochastic RSI and RSI. No one has, by the way, no one else I have seen has mentioned this. Pay particular attention and drop me a comment if this doesn't make sense. I'm going to pause and check out the comments. There's a lot of comments here. I see Evan's in the house, and I see he is filling up the comments as always. Thank you, Evan. It is awesome to see you in the comments feed. Believe me. Loving it, loving it, loving it. But there is a dynamic that exists that I noticed on the 2-week chart of Bitcoin between the relative strength index and the stochastic relative strength index I wanted to talk to. So originally when I was coming into this live stream, I was going to speak to something that probably a lot of technical analysts have spoken to, which are independent areas of price confluence. I shouldn't say price confluence. Independent areas of statistical measurements on the RSI and stochastic RSI. But instead, what I tried to do was I tried to determine confluence between the two indicators. And what I came up with was a reading of 60. And what do I mean by that? Well, as you can see, if we were to look back at 2020 and 21, as long as we stayed, focus on the blue line, okay? That's a bad color. Focus on the purple line, all right? As you can see, as long as we stayed above 74 here, see how we stayed above 74? Price action was good. Once we lost 74, okay, once we lost 74 right here, you can see right around here, yeah, we went higher, but it was ultimately our signal that we were going much lower, right? Well, that 74 level doesn't hold true if we go back to 2016 and 17. We can't just say, hey guys, it's a warning signal if we lose the 74 level. Because if we go back to 16 and 17, look what happened here. There were several times as our price, look at this parabolic price action that occurred here. There were several times we went well below 74. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what else can we discern from the stochastic RSI, perhaps in tangent with another price indicator that would lead us to feeling bullish or bearish? And I think I have something. It is the 60 level. What I noticed is once the RSI, this is a 2-week chart on Bitcoin, when the RSI, the relative strength index, turns above 60, okay, the stochastic RSI can hit readings well below 70. Here you can see we're at 42. Here you can see we're at 33. Here you can see we're, look at the, oh, you can't see that. You can't see it because I know my face is in the way. Hold on, let me move my face. Okay, so I want you to focus on what the stochastic RSI reading is, okay? Here is when the relative strength index went above, right in this area is where it went above 60, right? So you can see here on the stochastic RSI, after we got above 60, after the stochastic RSI got above 60, you can see here, look in the bottom left, you see how the stochastic RSI is at 43? What's the RSI? Look above it, 70. Here the stochastic RSI dipped below 60. What's the RSI? 68. Here the stochastic RSI is below 60. What's the RSI? 82. Now let's do this in reverse, okay? Here the relative strength index, once it flipped above 60, which was right here, you can see we dipped below it here, right? Do you see how we went up to 61 and here we went down to 54? What's the stochastic RSI? 90. Here we went below it here for a month, okay? 56 and 55. What's the stochastic RSI? 88 and 70, 88 and 75. Here we went below it at 58. What's the, that's borderline. Technically, yeah, the stochastic RSI did go below 60. All right. But it was at 50, it was at 58. So we went below it just a tad. So maybe I should change this line to 58. But where I'm going with this is, I'm trying to find some confluence between the RSI and the stochastic RSI that exists, where I think there's a lot of people right now that are focused on one measurement on the RSI or stochastic RSI. We could even go to a weekly chart and we can talk about how important 70 is and how important 63 is. But if you look at a 2-week, the major flag, okay, I want to get to the punchline here. The major flag to me, now that the relative strength index, you can see right here on the 2-week candlestick starting on October 23rd of last year, because the RSI went above 60, it was at 64, what would be a big red flag to me is if both, not one, if both the RSI and the stochastic RSI go below 60. So long as that doesn't happen, I could care less. What I could see happening play out as a scenario similar to 16 and 17, we create the higher highs and higher lows. The stochastic RSI comes, I think it was it the stochastic RSI or RSI? I think it was actually the RSI. Is this the 2-week? Oh, that was actually the weekly chart, wasn't it? Yeah, was it the 2-week or the weekly? It was both charts. You can see in 16 and 17, I didn't draw this out ahead of the live stream. My apologies. We'll do it together. You can see in 16 and 17, look what happened here. We sort of had this uptrend with the RSI. We had an uptrend with the stochastic RSI. We could get something similar this time around. We'll have to keep an eye. But right now, we're well above 60 on both indicators. The RSI is all the way up at 71. The stochastic RSI is at 96. For me personally, I'm not sweating bullets, anything remotely similar to bullets whatsoever, until both the RSI and stochastic RSI drop below 60. And again, this RSI could go below 60. It could come all the way down here. Let's say we come down to 52, okay? We could still get a general uptrend. This stochastic RSI could be all the way up here at 65 to 67. We're good. Now, if we start dipping below 60 at the same time as the stochastic RSI goes below 60, that's when I would be nervous. But for right now, that's not the case. So the last thing I'm going to comment on with this 2-week chart before we get into a few other charts to wrap things up here. And actually, I want to get to your comments. I appreciate the comments here. I always appreciate the engagement with you guys. Oftentimes, you guys see things or are paying attention. This is why I appreciate my community. There are quite often times you guys bring things up in the comments that I may not necessarily have known or was paying attention to. There's only so many hours in a day. I do have a full-time job. So I appreciate the engagement. So I'll get to you guys shortly here in a moment. I think the punchline of where I'm going with this is there's absolutely a possibility based on this candlestick formation and the negative divergences in the RSI, we could see a little bit of nothing concerning, but a deeper correction down to as low as the 35, I would say the $35,000 area, okay? The top of this orange box, around 35, could go down to 32. I could actually see 32. Couldn't see us going below 32 though. So really, I could be incorrect, and we could get a correction down to 35 to 32 before resuming our trend. But again, it's nothing in the macro perspective I'm concerned about whatsoever, because we would be maintaining the higher highs and higher lows. It wouldn't be until we lost the 200 simple moving average on the weekly at $30,000. If we start to lose $30,000, I would be very concerned with that. So yes, there are things in the charts right now that are telling me we could get a bit of a correction downwards, but I still believe a lot of those negative divergences are going to be negated. We're going to continue moving higher. I see too many. We have to get into the monthly chart here towards the end of the month, but there are too many charts that I'm looking at that are way too bullish, that are leaving me feel like we're not even going to go below $40,000. Not to mention the fact, before we get to Ethereum BTC, which is actually a great segue on why I'm so bullish, and especially on altcoins, guys, you have to keep in mind, one of the basic premises of this channel, okay, that differentiates itself from other channels, I believe everything is all in the charts. But what do I actually mean by that? One of the things that I mean by that implicitly is that human emotion is baked into the chart. Everyone, when I say, by the way, when I say everyone, I mean most people. Most people are anticipating a blow off top in Bitcoin at like $250,000, which I don't see happening. I don't see that happening, at least this time around. At some point in the future, I see that, but not this time around. Most people are expecting a $250,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2025. Now, if everyone is expecting something to occur, do you really think that's going to happen? That leaves me feeling further convinced that in general I'm going to be correct, and we are going to see a blow off top similar to what I have here in the first half of this year, or my timing's going to be a bit off, right? And by a bit off, I mean late 24, maybe the fourth quarter of, it could be the fourth quarter of 2024. It could be the first quarter of 2025, although I think that is really late. I don't know that we're going to go all the way into the first half or first quarter of 2025, but let's say the fourth quarter of 2024. But I could be off by 6 months or 4 months or 5 months or 3 months. Fine. But I do not think that the charts are going to play out exactly the way most people are saying. I don't. Doesn't that intuitively make sense to you? Do you really think any chart is going to play out the way? If everyone is anticipating something, there's enough smarts behind all of the smart money that they're going to play it counter to that. You'll hear whatever you want to hear on the news and whatever froths up your emotion. CASP is going to $20, XRP to $580, Bitcoin to $250,000. Whatever you want to believe, there's going to be a moment where it's going to become obvious based on some indicators that I plan to share with you guys, as well as the euphoria that's being spread out there, that whether Bitcoin is lower or higher than my own personal expectations, it would probably be wise to begin to scale out. And I think it's going to occur a lot sooner than most people think. I would be absolutely shocked, extremely shocked, if Bitcoin tops in late 2025. I would be very shocked by that. There are way too many people. You go on George's channel, Cryptos Are Us. That guy, as much as I tune into his channel to catch the news, I think he does a good job of recapping the news. I mean, the dude doesn't know technical analysis for shit, regurgitates charts on his channel, and it's like he speaks in terms like it's a foregone conclusion. Bitcoin's going to 250,000 by the end of 2025. Just load up. I mean, it's kind of. I listen. I'm sort of multitasking, doing my thing, listening to him. When he does that on his channel, I roll my eyes. Like, anyone that wants to believe that, like, more power to you. You can do whatever you want to do, but I think that's a bunch of horse shit. So, another reason that I feel convicted things are going to start getting more frothy quicker than people expect. Look at this chart. Now, this is a chart I've been speaking to forever, okay? And as bearish as people want to get, I have spoken to how monumentally bullish this chart is. This thing is in a huge triangular consolidation formation. This is the ETH BTC relativity chart on the 2-week time frame. Like I said to you, I will come out here and tell you when I'm wrong. I will come out here and tell you when I'm right. So far, this has been spot on. Now, I have not modified this chart. This is a green area of support. Look what we did. We double bottomed right in the green zone. And for people who were calling, and I tweeted replies, for people who said we were breaking down, we didn't break down here. Volatility, price wicks are an expression of what? Volatility. We wicked below the trend line. The trend line wasn't invalidated. Look at this trend line going back to 2017. This thing hasn't been invalidated. We are coiling up for either a breakdown to this area here or a massive move up. You guys know I called this, okay? And I still believe this is going to happen. I know all the attention is being given to Solana, all right? I believe that it is very, very, very possible, and I think it's going to happen, where Ethereum is going to temporarily flip Bitcoin. The orange dotted line is where we need to get to. All right, I've been saying that. I think something along these lines is going to happen. We will see. I could be dead wrong. Ethereum never flips Bitcoin. And again, when I say flip, I mean you see Ethereum number one for part of a day or until the next day, and then we go right back to Bitcoin being number one, right? But Ethereum is going, in my opinion, Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin this year, and it is going to make a strong push towards $10,000. Okay, thumbs up if you appreciate the realism on this channel, and you appreciate my smile. What else was I going to say? Relative strength index. We've been in a massive downtrend since April of 2021, which has finally started to break right here. We'll see if that holds up, okay? But right now, this is another further sign to me that we're going to see a push up in the market sooner rather than later. I think March could be the time. It could be the tail end of February going into March. But I think I really think, I don't want to overhype this. I really want you to hear what I'm about to say here, and we're going to quick breeze through a couple charts. I want to get to your comments. I forgot to get to your comments. So we're going to breeze through a couple charts because CBG is getting very hangry, and I need to make dinner. I'm going to get to the comments. We're going to breeze through a few charts, but I really first want you to hear me out on this. So when this market picks up, it's going to happen very quickly. Okay, we're getting to a point in this consolidating formation here on Ethereum that suggests to me it's very likely that Ethereum is going to make a very strong push very shortly. Now, when that happens, okay, if it happens, when it happens, there's going to be a lot of renewed interest and a lot of renewed confidence, not only in Ethereum and ERC20 tokens, but the entire altcoin market. You're going to see a push down in Bitcoin dominance. Take a look at this great transition. Take a look at the uptrend that occurred on the relative strength index for Bitcoin dominance on the weekly chart. Look how we broke it, okay? I fully anticipate this relative strength index to come all the way back up to this area, but not being able to break it and push back down. Why? Because it was an area of support, and now it's going to be an area of resistance. And something else I pointed out before I was out of commission there, if you just look at the price data and you look at the fact that we were in this upwards channel here, sort of a rising wedge, but more of an upwards channel, I indicated to you two things. One, this area on the relative strength index between 72.6 and 77.5, this historically was a topping zone. I mentioned this several times on my live stream. Look at the MACD pushing down, okay? This was a warning sign, not a warning sign, but an indication that Bitcoin dominance was getting too frothy, that strength would resume back in the altcoins, okay? That's what I'm anticipating. Now, whether we get one final push up, okay, in dominance that takes us all the way as high as 58, that has yet to be seen, all right? But on a weekly closing basis, this RSI is not going above this trend line. I'm calling that right now. It's not going above this trend line, okay? And with the consolidation pattern nearing an end in Ethereum, I think these things are all spelling the fact that the probabilities are increasing, not to mention the fact if we look at total 3, Gaussian channel on the 6-day, weekly hasn't flipped to green yet. Historically, when the Gaussian channel flips to green on the weekly, this has been monumentally significant. All time frames less than 7 days have flipped green. Total 2 has already flipped green. When we begin to examine these things, what I'm beginning to feel more and more convicted about, on top of some of the consolidation patterns that I've seen on a lot of these altcoins we're going to examine this week, I think there are going to be some significant pushes up, okay, in USD value and BTC relativities and Ethereum relativities in these altcoins. Late February going into March, I think March, April, May, and June. I think March through June is going to be a very historic period in terms of the potential appreciation in your portfolio. And it's up to your own due diligence and who you place value in this market to try to help you discern what's going on. I don't think that's going to be, I don't think that's going to definitively tell us, or how should I word this? I think there's going to be a very large push up in the market between March to June. Okay. And depending where Bitcoin is at, that is going to tell us whether or not we're hitting our parabolic top or whether it's going to occur later in the year. But what I'm trying to say, and I'm really losing my thought process here, this is what happens sometimes when you live stream. I think if you're patient, this is what I wanted to get to. I think if you're patient, you have the potential to see your assets appreciate tremendously in value. All right, you're going to see that appreciation take place. Keep in mind, and something we haven't hit on, traditional markets have done what I have called out traditional markets to do. I think it was the S&P, or was it the NASDAQ? I think it was the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones was the first, I think, to make new all-time highs in 2023. And I had said to you guys, hey, by the end of 2023, early first quarter of 2024, we're going to see new all-time highs in traditional markets. Crypto is going to follow. Guys, if you look at the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow Jones, all three have hit new all-time highs. Okay? I don't think we're just going to roll over from there. I think money is going to continue to flood into the market because now a lot of people feel like they missed out. Money market managers, money fund managers have left their clients, a lot of them on the sidelines in late 22, early 23. They missed out on a lot of the run. While if you were subscribed to this channel, you would have been buying hand over fist in this market. They've missed out. They're going to pile in. That's essentially going to cause FOMO at some point this year. But where I am going is there is going to be a big move in this market with altcoins, okay? Your largest move, now I want to emphasize this, and I've said this consistently, your largest move in altcoins is not going to happen until Bitcoin breaks $69,000, its prior all-time high. But even with Bitcoin in the $50,000 range, when it starts to hit $50,000, you're going to see your altcoins run tremendously. Tremendously. And I think you're going to see a very large push between March, could be late February, but March to June is going to be, I think, a historic period. Let's get to these comments. Evan, I don't think I can get to all your comments. Dear God. Love you, brother, but this is, CBG is hangry, needs to eat. You sound like you sold a lot of spot. No, I haven't sold. Evan, what is selling? I don't understand. My fingers don't understand selling. No, I haven't sold any spot, my friend. The whole world is shorting. Yeah, I don't short this market. I haven't sold anything, so no, I'm good. We'll check out DXY this week, my friend. Thank you for pointing out. Something we need to get to. I do not know the answer to that track. Ha! Kathleen. So we can take a look at UMA, something I've been calling for a while. The only thing I'm salty with about UMA is I actually reduced my trade position because not from an emotional basis because the trade was taking longer than anticipated, but the chart just wasn't looking as bullish to me. I knew the breakout was inevitable, but I felt there were better swing trade plays elsewhere, so I reduced my trade position, and it's a great example of a mistake I made, right? So I was still able to profit on it, but not as much as if I just held my original amount. So, but it has had a monumental run. Where are we at right now, actually, on that? Let's see. Oh, it's up 20%. All right. Okay. We are in the window of opportunity. I do agree, Evan. And this is why I've tried to tell people with everything that with everything I've been going through in 23 going into this year, you know, there are two main personal areas of items I'm laser focused on. One is getting back in the gym and getting my personal health back up to where it was and beyond. I have a lot of personal aspirations in terms of my physical health, being stronger, more fit than I was last year. That's personal, okay? That's my biggest passion. Number two is I realize that the opportunity is at hand to realize a lot of wealth creation this year. And once that opportunity passes, okay, once we turn the page on 2024, we're going to be entering another era of massive correction within markets. I do not want to miss this opportunity. This, for me, let me make this clear. I'm very careful about how I choose my words, and I believe failure is falling and refusal to get back up. Okay, I've had a lot of setbacks in my life. I've never failed at something. But it's hard for me not to look at this year. If I don't capture a lot of that wealth creation this year and create true financial independence for myself this year, I will view it as a failure. And so I am looking at this year as the greatest opportunity for me personally, financially. And I'm laser focused on prospering in this market and making the most of it. I'm hoping that you guys join me on that journey. We can learn together. But it's a big year. It's a big year, and I'm laser focused on it. You can tell by the look on my face. So it's possible the move could be over by March. Evan, I'm not going to discount the fact that that is a possibility. Yeah, Evan, we'll take a look at DXY. These all, you've had these, speaking of alt season, you've had these different altcoins popping off. You've had these little meme seasons, layer 1, layer 2. Man, I just remember the beginning of 2021 and how epic that was. We're getting closer and closer, but for that type of a run, again, Bitcoin needs to break $69,000. And when that'll happen is anyone's educated guess. But again, let me say this. Let me emphasize this. Parabolas are not intended, and by definition, to be slow and to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Here I am." They are swift and they move quickly. All right. If we go back to this chart super quick, and we look back, if we look back to. If we go back to 2020 going into 21, I remember, and I've actually stopped doing this, by the way. I remember trying to educate a few of my friends on Bitcoin and not really getting the most positive of responses. I've given up on that. Like if they want to lose out on the opportunity, so be it. I don't really have time to deal with negative responses and people who don't care. I remember trying to tell people to get into the fucking market here, okay? And if they didn't want to listen to me, that's fine. It's their own loss. But we went from $10,000 all the way up to nearly $70,000 in the span of, 5 months, guys. That's how quickly a parabola moves. Look at what a parabola is. This is a parabola, guys. Okay? Now, if you would have drawn this without price action, if you would have, you're here and you're looking at price action, it's hard at $10,000 to see it going up to nearly $70,000. That's hard to see, right? But then look at all of a sudden how quickly price moves. 5 months we're from 10 to 70. Your altcoins are doing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100x, right? That is how quick this market moves. Let me get to the other comments. Frankie, I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to have you back. Thank you. What's up, DT? DT, DT, I'm not 100% clear on what you're saying there. Can you DM me? I'll look for your DM while I'm eating, actually. I'm going to be eating dinner soon, so just DM me. I'll look out for your DM. I'm not clear on what you mean there. Guys, last chart I want to... Well, actually, two charts. Caspa. For anyone being impatient with Caspa, for all my fans out there, fellow fans, this is quite honestly the project currently in my own personal portfolio that I am most excited about and I have the highest of expectations for. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is a bull flag. I'm just showing you a pattern. This is a bull. This is a pennant. Depending upon the breakout, depends where we break out. Let's say we break out near the first week of February. Our technical pattern's up over 30 cents. Okay, so, I mean, again, I was here tweeting about this and saying, and putting YouTube videos out. This felt very similar to this price action based on the way price looked and the way moving averages looked. Okay, and we went from here to here, and then you can see we were here, and we went all the way fucking up to there. Okay, I remember all the people salty in this 3 to 4 cent area. All Caspa is doing once again is consolidating in this 10 to 12 cent range. Okay, this is not going to stay here much longer. This has been consolidating longer than I originally anticipated, but that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change my conviction or how the price data looks. This thing, what you don't want to see, let me explain something to you guys. You don't want things to get so overheated and then have a massive pullback, right? Because a lot of times it just takes longer to start building your base and get back up in price. This has had some very healthy consolidation, guys. I'm not biased in making this assertion. I'm giving you my honest view on this. This thing has had some really healthy consolidation after topping at 15.5 cents. We're consolidating between 10 to 12 cents. It's a very healthy consolidation. So take it as you will. Total market cap, this is hilarious looking at because for so long, I remember coming out here and live streaming when we were in this area. We could not break 1.2 trillion. Do you guys remember that? We could not break 1.2 trillion. Now we're all the way up here trying to break 2 trillion. We're right in this zone here. Look at that. I have not changed any of it. You can go back to my YouTube videos and fact check me. I've not changed any of these areas of price confluence. We perfectly wicked up to 1.8 trillion. We're right now we moved. This is the way to think about it. It's like stair steps, like Super Mario. Super Mario. Mario's jumping up some steps here, all right? Higher highs, higher lows. We were consolidating in this range between like 980 billion to like 1.2 trillion. Now we're consolidating between 1.6 and 1.8 trillion. After we break one, remember, I said on this live stream, once we break with a weekly close above 1.8 trillion, that is when things are going to get really interesting. Because to me, there's not a lot of price confluence in our way to start pushing to 2 to 2.6. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but 2 to 2.6, let's measure it out. 2 to 2.6 is roughly a 13 to 45% move in the entire market, okay? Now, a 13 to 45% move is not saying your altcoin will go 13 to 45%. You guys have to understand what a weighted average means, okay? This is an entire measurement of all crypto projects. So if you have a $50 million market cap, a 13 to 45% move in the market would mean your $50 million crypto market cap project isn't going to go up 13 to 45%. It could do a 10, 20, 30x, okay? So, yeah. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, YC, first off, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. And just one last time, before we sign off here, I want to make sure to say this. I'm not signing off just yet. I want to make sure to mention this. every single person who has reached out to me, every single person who has had a positive thing to share. I'm a little dude from the Northeast. I'm no one special, just like all of you. I'm just somebody else out here doing what he loves doing. And so when you share positive things with me and you express appreciation, it comes through, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you. Digibyte is really taking its sweet old time. I agree with you. Some of these moves are taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it doesn't change my thesis though. I'm not sure what you mean, Kathleen. Credible said I was going to 13. I don't know what 13.0. Which chart were we talking about? Are you talking about Caspa? Yeah, I don't see Caspa going to $13. Unless you mean 13 cents. I don't see. If Caspa goes to $13, I will buy an island and I will invite all of you for a party. How about that? Oh, UMA. Oh, UMA's going to 13. Well, I mean, maybe eventually it'll go to 13. I don't think it's going to 13 this week. Actually, if you take a look at my UMA charts, off the top of my head, well, let me see if I have this. I had a big topping zone. This was my topping zone, Kathleen. 450 to 8. We're right in that zone. I don't see us getting out of this zone anytime soon. I think once the rest of the market runs, we'll break 850 easily. But no, I don't see $13 this week. I have to understand the context of what you mean. Is UMA eventually going to go to $13? Yes, I believe so. Is it going there this week? No, I don't see that. I would be floored if it went to 13. I'd be kicking myself for selling because I'm already out personally. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it. That is going to do it for the live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back every single weekday this week at normal time around anywhere between 5 to 6. I'm probably going to be trying to live stream closer to like 5:15 Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to click that bell icon, all notifications. It feels hella good to be back. Stay convicted unless something materially changes in your investment thesis. Don't pay attention to the news. The news is noise. It is all in the charts. Until next time, everybody, let's all spread awareness and let's carry the education forward. Take care, everybody. Good to see everyone. Thank you for the engagement.